Hey guys, so I'm back, better late than never. Like I said, I was going to bring a video about PCOS to you as my second video of my YouTube career, and that's what this is going to be. So today I want to talk about PCOS and 5 kind of PCOS diet rules that I follow for myself to help, battle any symptoms of PCOS, make sure my body is in the best health it can be in, and just make sure my overall health is also being taken care of. So, the first rule that I follow for myself is to try to have only one coffee a day. And for sure, out of all my rules, this is the only one that I really break sometimes. The other ones are pretty second nature to me, and I don't have any real trouble following them. And, it's just the coffee thing is so hard. I'm somebody who really likes coffee. I really enjoy the taste of it, but it's not great for your hormones when you have PCOS. It can lead, or not that it can lead to adrenal fatigue and adrenal stress, but it definitely doesn't help when you do have that. It obviously can impact your cortisol levels and just generally cause stress in your body, and you really don't want to have that with PCOS. It does exacerbate the condition, and ain't nobody got time for that. So I try to only have one coffee a day in the morning, and then if I do have coffee or something later on in the day, if I can, I try to make sure that it's decaf so that it at least is, not the full impact, although decaf coffee does still have some caffeine, but I try to minimize it if it's later on in the day. So one coffee a day, but that's a tough one. The second rule that I follow for myself is that I always have my seeds every day, and my seeds are the ones that I'm seed cycling with at that point in my cycle. So in the beginning, the first 2 weeks of my cycle, you do flax and pumpkin seeds, and then in the second half, after you ovulate, you do sesame and sunflower. And I usually just throw those into a smoothie bowl or into my protein shake, because it's really easy. Then they're freshly ground and they're not rancid or anything like that. They're the freshest they can be, and they really help balance your hormones in whichever part of the cycle that you're in. So in the beginning, they're going to help with your estrogen, and then in the second half of your cycle, they're going to help support your progesterone production, which obviously is a big problem in PCOS. A lot of women with PCOS are progesterone deficient, so that can help. And I found that since I started doing that about a year and a half ago, when you're consistent with it, it really, really helps. And it does also help my PMS symptoms. And that's a topic for another video. So I make sure I have my seeds every day. So 1 tablespoon of pumpkin and 1 tablespoon of flax, or if I'm in the second half of my cycle, 1 tablespoon of sesame and 1 tablespoon of sunflower seeds, ground up on my salad, smoothie, whatever. So I have those every day. And the third thing that I try to do is always make sure I have a good source of protein with all my meals, because protein obviously helps keep you fuller for longer. For me, it really, really reduces any carb cravings. It really helps. So if I make sure that protein is the focal point of my meal, and then I add some healthy fats, and I add some, slow digesting, low GI carbs, I don't overeat. I feel full and just good and satisfied. So it really stops any binge eating. And usually the thing that I focus on in the morning, like if I'm having a smoothie bowl or whatever, I always have some really high quality protein powder. So usually right now I'm using whey protein actually, but a lot of the time I usually prefer a vegan protein powder, and I try to get one with very little additives, no artificial sweeteners for sure. At the most it's stevia, but usually it's unflavored, and I just prefer to flavor it myself with like some cacao or peanut butter or whatever. So always protein. And then the other thing that I usually have is organic grass-fed eggs, so organic free-range eggs, and I try to make sure that the reason, like those are Okay, those are really good for multiple reasons. I can do a whole nother post on eggs if anybody wants me to. But the main reason why I have a lot of eggs is it's because of choline, and I'm trying to conceive, so that's really important when you're trying to conceive. And it's generally a nutrient that a lot of people might be deficient in. The RDA is set at a level that people suspect now that we might actually need maybe twice, 3 times the amount of choline that above the RDA. So that is another reason why I always try to make eggs one of my proteins. Okay, rule number 4, this is pretty easy to stick to these days, especially because there's so many alternatives, is that I try to really limit my dairy. I don't usually have it very often. If I do have it, it's in minimal amounts, so I might have like some cream in my coffee, maybe like, I don't know, some butter on my vegetables. I don't know. When I do eat dairy, I try to have it really high quality, grass-fed, organic, all that stuff, and I do still limit it even when it is the high quality. And it's not because I don't have any digestive issues. I don't feel bad when I eat dairy, but I do find that I think I have more breakouts when I eat dairy, and then it's not the best for people with PCOS. So I don't really have it very often. I will have it sometimes. At Christmas I had cheese, that kind of thing, but I do try to really keep it to a minimum. Okay, and the 5th rule, this one's really easy to follow too, and it's good for multiple reasons. I try to be gluten-free, or as gluten-free as possible. So I'm not a celiac, I don't have any allergy issues, but I do just feel better generally. When I don't have gluten, I find my digestion is better, my skin is so much clearer, and the thing about going gluten-free is that for women with PCOS, carbohydrates, especially, sugary, fast-release carbohydrates, they can be really, really bad for your insulin. And going gluten-free, there's a lot of gluten-free crappy products out there for sure, but it does tend to lower your carb intake a little bit, which can be really beneficial for women with PCOS. So going gluten-free was important for me. I think it did also really open my eyes to a lot of other like fun ingredients that are out there that are a good substitute for gluten, like especially in the world of baking. There's coconut flour, there's almond flour. Those things usually are keto and paleo as well, so if you're following that, they really help you keep your macros, and they're gluten-free, and for the most part they behave just like regular flour, and they're quite delicious. So gluten-free to lower my carbohydrates, but also gluten-free to help optimize my thyroid function. So for women with PCOS, you do tend to be at like a little bit of a higher risk to develop something like Hashimoto's disease, which is a thyroid issue. And even if you don't have Hashimoto's and you have an underactive or a little overactive thyroid, cutting out gluten can really help, because anything with your thyroid is, not always, but often autoimmune related. And because gluten is a trigger for people with autoimmune diseases, it can be something that just by cutting it out from your diet, it can give your body a bit of a break from inflammation, autoimmune response, and stuff like that. And you're really looking to do that with PCOS. You're looking to minimize any inflammation, minimize any potential contributing factors to your like general hormone imbalance. And since the thyroid does produce hormones, is a really big factor in trying to conceive, and just being healthy in general. Even if you're not trying to conceive, your thyroid is really important. And of course, thyroid can be a factor in being underweight or overweight if you're having an issue with your thyroid. So cutting out gluten for me has helped me in a lot of ways. I'm not allergic if, like I said, if my gluten-free bread touches the same cutting board as the regular bread at the restaurant, I'm not going to get sick. 2 parts per million or whatever are not going to give me any serious issues, but it's just something I avoid in general because I feel better without it. But if a little sneaks in here or there, I'm not really concerned about it. No hospital visits for me when I have gluten. Okay, so those are my 5 tips, really quick. They were to have only one coffee a day. It's really hard. To have my seed cycling seeds every day, to make sure I have protein with every meal, to make sure I'm limiting my dairy, and 5, to avoid gluten as much as possible. So if you guys want to know more about PCOS or just about my experience with PCOS, you can leave me a comment below. Let me know, like this video if you thought this was interesting at all, and subscribe, because eventually I'll put out another video. It's taking me a little bit of time. Yeah, and let me know in the comments too. I'd like to know what you guys do to help your PCOS, to help manage it, to, I don't know, just feel better and feel like you're a little bit in control of your health situation, because I find following these rules also helps me. It helps my physical health, it helps my mental health, and it just helps me know that I'm doing the best that I can to manage my end of the deal. So let me know what you guys do, because I'm always open to hearing new tips, and maybe we can communicate about that. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye now.